Do they prefer their waiting lists to come down? Do they want their mortgages to come down, the economy to start working for everyone? That's what we're trying to achieve. Or do we want to keep a tax break for farmers? But you can't have both.
That was Keir Starmer pitting the NHS against farmers. This is just petty politics, if you ask me. It's absolutely pathetic. He is creating a complete false dichotomy and suggesting that if we do a U-turn, or if he does a U-turn on the tax rules for farmers that are introducing, that are going to completely destroy our food security and be an absolute nightmare. If he does a U-turn on that means that the NHS will have to remain a complete mess, that we can't have both. I'm sorry, but this is just absolute bullshit, okay? Because the tax policy on farming, okay, it's a very ideologically driven policy, and the figures we have on this suggest that it's really not going to raise that much money for the Treasury, nowhere near the amount of money that would be needed to save the NHS. And also, how about you think long term? Even if it does bring in a decent bit of cash for the Treasury that maybe can give the NHS a tiny little boost in the short term, it's going to make us poorer in the long run. I mean, we have less money for the NHS and everything else. If we destroy our food security, end up having to pay a load of money to import it from other places, or we end up having to spend a bunch more money on farming subsidies because the farmers are just closing down and on their knees because of your tax policy. Okay, it's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. This is petty politics, and he's trying to paint out the farmers to be rich tax dodgers who want to keep the cash in their pockets and don't care about, the poor people that can't afford Bupa and private healthcare. Unacceptable. Let's just have a look at a couple of tweets on this. So Rupert Lowe responded saying, "This is an incredibly offensive comment. Tax breaks for farmers, some of the wealthiest people. A very stupid, very arrogant thing to say. You are not fit to be Prime Minister Starmer." I do think, I completely agree that it was stupid and it was completely arrogant. I am fed up of people saying that farmers are rich, wealthy people. I'm sure there are some farmers that are rich, wealthy people, but the vast majority of them, okay, you only need to watch a few episodes of Clarkson's Farm to realise there ain't much money in selling potatoes and leeks, and that they are absolutely struggling, and the cost of the things like the fertilisers and the tractors and everything is just through the roof. And then all you need, after you're just hoping to make a few quid profit on your crops that you've planted, is then the weather doesn't play ball, and then a whole field that you were hoping to harvest turns out, nope, the grain's not right, you can't harvest it, all that money down the bin. I mean, it's an absolute mess, and I'm grateful that we have these people that still, despite being such a hard job to do that pays very little, go out day in, day out, no matter what weather, in the freezing cold. I was complaining about going outdoors today in the freezing cold, my hands getting cold, but I'm sure the farmers were experiencing far worse. Okay, I'm grateful these people do it. But our government, they just want to dismiss them as, wealthy, rich people and not give a damn about them and not take care of them. I think it's absolutely pathetic. And I saw this other tweet which sums it up pretty well as well. It's the ignorance that hurts the most. Many farmers are earning less than minimum wage. Family members often work outside the farm to keep them afloat. Exactly. It's such a loss-making business, so difficult to make a profit, that you've got family members who really should be working on the farm having to go out and, they might find actually working on minimum wage at the pub where you haven't actually got a whole load of costs, and sending some of that money back to the farm might be what you have to do to keep it afloat. It is ignorance. It's absolute ignorance. The farmers, they've just recently staged yet another huge protest in London to try and get the message through to Keir Starmer, and it wasn't working. So what did they do instead? Well, of course, they went and crashed Keir Starmer's announcement for his housing development plans, and I think it was pretty embarrassing for Keir Starmer, it's fair to say. Let's take a look back at that.
Really,
I think this is brilliant.
I mean,
They're just drowning him out, and the tunes are great. I love it. They got such a good party on. There's Keir Starmer. He had to run away in his copter. Oh, they got all the bangers on. Love it.
Just talk to us.
There we go. Keir Starmer having to leave early there because he couldn't get a word in. He was just drowned out. And you hear them shouting at the end there, just talk to us, Keir Starmer, just talk to us. He won't listen. You probably only need to sit down with them for about 5 minutes rather than sitting down with, Bill Gates, the voice of reason on farming. No. He just needs to sit down with them and talk to them for a few minutes to realise how absolutely ludicrous this policy is. Okay, Keir Starmer, he is just destroying his rural vote. He's shooting himself in the foot. He's not doing Labour any favours. As I said, this policy is not even going to raise that much money, but it is destroying his I was going to say his personality, but there wasn't any of that in the first place. But his approval ratings and those of the Labour Party. Anyway, that's the latest update on the war between Starmer and the farmers. It's Starmer the farmer Harmer. He's getting all sorts of nicknames for it. Make sure you subscribe to the Reason channel if you haven't already. See you next time.